we not feel anxiety? How do we learn to master our worries, our fears, our concerns about what's going to happen to us or to others or to the world? Let's dive into this, and I'm going to give you some key practices and keys on how to navigate and not feel anxious, all right? So the first thing that I find is so important when working with people who have this crippling anxiety or just can't get through to another place of relaxing, of trusting, of just chilling out, which I have been there myself in my life. The first thing that I found that's so helpful is to appreciate it. Now, stick with me before you start rolling your eyes and click on to the next video here. Is what will happen as we start to appreciate an experience that we don't seemingly appreciate is it does two things. One, it softens us. It allows our nervous system to relax. And that's one of the ways that anxiety has a grip on us is through our nervous system. We're very activated, our adrenals are online, and we just can't physically chill out. It's very challenging to. So the more that we can appreciate how the anxiety keeps us safe, or in some ways keeps us comfortable or familiar, the better that we will be at allowing it to transform and allowing our bodies to relax. For me, and earlier in my life, I had a lot of anxiety. And for me, it was based primarily in insecurity. I didn't fundamentally like who I was, nor did I like the experience of my life in so many ways. So I dealt with that anxiety through like extreme sports and overactivity, searching, running, finding, doing, producing, achieving, all of those kinds of things. I didn't spend a lot of time going inside and being with myself, you could say. Now, for me, what I found is that anxiety had me feel comfortable and provided a form of security for myself. Because I had all these feelings inside of anger, of frustration. Again, that was all seemingly out there at the world in a lot of ways, but it was all towards myself. And as I started to look through psychology and through therapy and through mentorship and learning through videos like this, I started to really appreciate how the anxiety served a clear purpose for me. I'll do another video on how everything that we feel, think, and do serves us on some level, or else we wouldn't do it. But primarily, for me, that anxiety kept me feeling safe. It provided a kind of a blanket, in a way, of protection between myself and the world, and ultimately between myself and myself, if you could take it to that level, right? So appreciating the anxiety softens us to our experience, number one, and it helps us appreciate why it's happening, why it serves us. The other thing that appreciating it does is that it has us stop resisting the experience. Now think about this. If we have an experience inside of us that we don't like and we're resisting feeling it, by resisting it, we're paying attention to it. And whatever we pay attention to grows in our life. You know, you can imagine I'm just pushing, this is anxiety, right? My left hand here. If I don't like it, I'm focusing on it. Like, I don't like anxiety. I want to, even the title of this video, it's really not a great title in a lot of ways because it's all about not feeling anxious. And whenever we're not doing something, we're paying attention to it. So there's that feedback for myself. So anytime we're giving resistance to something, we're paying attention to it. So I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel this, right? We're resisting it as opposed to, I'm aware I have this anxiety in myself. I welcome it in my heart. And I can appreciate that I have this anxiety. Now, I don't want it. I don't want to have it. But if you stick with me around this practice of acceptance, the more that we accept that we're feeling something, it's paradoxical. The more that we accept that we're feeling something, the more opportunity it has to transform. So appreciating this anxiety that has maybe been with us our entire lives or through our generations of our family, it has us soften to the experience and has us stop resisting so that it can transform into something else, right? So secondly, how to not feel anxiety, consciously cultivate other qualities inside of ourselves. Yes? So if we don't want to feel anxiety, what do we want to feel? Do we want to feel inspiration? We want to feel peace. We want to feel joy, happiness, passion, whatever it is. consciously create and choose how you want to feel. You know, when I first heard this concept about how we can actually choose to feel and think, I thought it was total BS. 17 years ago, when I started a spiritual path and a path of transformation, people were telling me this. And they're a little bit more condescending than at least I'm attempting to be right now. I'm not trying to be condescending, obviously. But I didn't, there was a lot of resistance I had inside of me in a lot of different ways. And I did not believe that it was true. They didn't do a whole lot of sharing, and they just kind of like taught that this is a principle and this is what you can do. And it wasn't very inspiring at that time, right? I didn't hear it in that way anyway. But I'm telling you, from someone who didn't think that it was possible, practiced it for a number of years in different kind of inspiring ways for myself, it's absolutely possible. I mean, I'm a living example of someone who is in a tremendous amount of suffering, discontent, and hated who they were. I'm not exaggerating here. I hated who I was. I can say that because I hated the world in a lot of ways. And I also, once I sort of realized that I really hated who I was, that I got to a point where I can now consciously cultivate and create my internal experience in life. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't have rough days internally, or externally for that matter. I'm feeling sad or frustrated or irritated or whatever. But I've created a certain habits and practices that can have me transform, which I'm sharing with you, one of which I'm sharing with you today, that can have me transform that experience into something that I actually want to have and feel. You can do this. It takes some practice, but you can do this. So if you don't want to feel anxious, create and consciously choose how you want to feel. It'll take some practice and some time, depending on how much energy and focus you devote to this. But you can do it. I'm telling you. So create how you want to feel. Choose it. And then focus on those qualities that you see around your life, whether it's content on social media and such, or in your relationships. Focus on creating those in your relationships. And then thirdly, create those within yourself by spending time with yourself. And think of things, do things, choose activities that activate those kind of qualities inside of you, right? So first thing is appreciate it briefly and understand that it served a purpose for you, the anxiety in this case, and how to not feel it, create other qualities. And finally, work with the physical body. Especially with anxiety, the more that we can work with the physical body to both relax our nervous system, do things that are relaxing, and things that are consciously activating of anxiety. Here's what I mean by that. If there's a lot of science behind this, actually, you can do a probably Google search and find out the research on this. But if you do things that are consciously anxiety provoking with the intent of wanting to relax inside of them, you will strengthen your relationship with your nervous system. I do this through cold plunging, through posting videos like this, because this is anxiety, or it once was, I should say. Public speaking was once very anxiety provoking for me, but I took it on as a practice and as a risk and as a challenge. And so now I feel less anxious in my life for a lot of reasons. One, because I've learned how to public speak in a way. I have a certain degree of competence with it. Still get nervous, I would say, in front of like very large groups of people, really any group of people, but it still happens and I take on that challenge. So in that way, I'm achieving a form of mastery over my nervous system. I'm achieving mastery in how I feel in this anxiety. So all this to say, engage the physical body in the practice of decreasing the anxiety. Move intentionally. You might even practice, I would say, I don't love the idea of moving more slowly, but I would say moving with intention and moving consciously. In the kitchen, I kind of get frenetic and kind of anxious about things because sometimes I haven't planned my day appropriately and I'm like rushing in the kitchen. I can actually, if I practice it, and you can too, you can move fast, but with consciousness, like with a degree of being conscious, right? And you'll find that as you move intentionally and with expedition, with speed, you can actually relax inside of the movement if you practice this enough. So a lot of this is about becoming conscious of how we feel and consciously thinking, feeling, and acting in a certain way. And if you do this just enough with enough dedication and practice over time, you will stop feeling anxious. I'm serious. You really can. And again, I'm an example of this for myself. So good luck. You got this, and all my best.